Once you open up your virtual shop, then the next step in the process will be to set up your virtual shop preferences. So we're going to go back into that preferences page. We're going to go up into this virtual shop tab, and we're going to talk about these two sections here, orders and jobs. Because like I said in the previous video, you can sell both products and services through your virtual shop. So let's go ahead and start with orders. This is going to be for product sales. The first preference here is talking about displaying inventory levels. So this one says display inventory of a product and whether it's in stock or out of stock. The select button will be disabled if the product is out of stock. So if I were to turn this preference on, then that means for things like maybe clothing items, you'll see that it will actually display if it's in stock, how many there are left, and if it's out of stock, it will display that, and I won't be able to click on that. So this is me as the customer. If I'm trying to buy this large tank top, I won't be able to because this is listed as out of stock. This is just tapping into your inventory over in your products and services. If you do not keep a close eye on inventory, then I might recommend that you leave this preference turned off. So then even if something goes out of stock technically within your able, it might not actually be out of stock, and you don't want that to prevent anybody from buying something that you might still have on your shelves. The next one down includes shipping as a delivery method. If you would like to give the opportunity for your customers to ship products out to themselves, then you can have this turned on. If you would prefer that all of the product sales would be either in person or in-shop pickup, then you can turn this one off. If instead you do have this on, you can see the next one, add an extra 2 days here to the estimated shipping delivery date. So the estimated shipping is already going to be calculated based on the option that you choose, or rather the option that the customer will choose. But if you want to add a few extra days, if you don't feel confident that you'll be able to get those things shipped out within 1 day, then you can always use this to add a couple of buffer days just to kind of add that on to the estimated delivery date. Next field down, automatically calculate shipping rates. So if you have this turned on, you'll see that the shipping rates will be calculated based on what you set for the average parcel size. So this is the average size of the package that you're going to be sending out based on the products that you're selling. This is customizable, so we will have some preset parameters in here, but if you tend to ship out larger packages or smaller packages than what we set as the default, then you can customize this for whatever that would be for you, and then those shipping rates would be based on whatever you enter here. If instead you'd rather just have a flat shipping rate, you can turn off this preference, and then you'll see you can enter in a flat shipping rate. Again, this is customizable. Now down in this job section. So this is of course for your service sales. First, the type of vehicles that customers can book. So if you are purely just working on vehicles, cars, then you can just leave this as automotive, and that's the only type of vehicle or item that a customer would be able to fill the checkout form with. Otherwise, you can activate other things that you also offer, and that would show up over in your virtual shop, a little something like this. Down in this vehicle section, you can see it now provides all of those different types, and you can see this now changes based on what is being selected here. Next, the type of jobs that customers can book. That's either in-shop, in-field, or both. If it's set to both like I have right now, then the customer will be given the option within the virtual shop to select whatever they would want for that particular job. You can see in-shop and in-field are the two options here. If they select in-field, then the address field up in the customer info section will be a required field. Otherwise, if they choose in-shop, you can see that is no longer required. If you had selected over in your preferences page just one or the other rather than both, then this entire section here wouldn't even show up in the checkout screen. Next, automatically schedule online booking requests. So with this turned off, as I have it right now, that means that when a customer books through there, even if they're picking a day and time to come in for it, it's still coming through technically as a quote with a tentative schedule. That gives me as the business owner the opportunity to be able to look it over and approve it before it officially gets booked. So that means that when jobs are submitted, it would look a little something like this one here. You can see that this is an online booking, but it's still technically in a quote, even though there's a start and end date and time in here. But now me as the business owner, I get to look it over. I have all the contact information for this customer. I can see the vehicle that they're bringing in, the service or services that they're interested in. And then I can look over that date and time. That also does show up in my calendar. As you can see out here, this gray color indicates that it is just a quote still. And if everything looks good there, then I can simply just click this schedule job button and I'll be able to actually confirm that. That would trigger the job scheduled text message to go out to the customer, confirming that they are now coming in on that day at that time. If you do not want to go through that process, you would prefer that the jobs that are submitted just automatically come through as scheduled jobs without you having to sort of approve it through that process, then you can just turn this toggle on and now those jobs will be actually submitted as a scheduled job. The next field down has to do with collecting deposits up front. So it says automatically collect a whatever percentage deposit up to any amount on an online booking request if the total is greater than or equal to this amount here. So of course, if you would prefer to not take deposits up front, you just want people to be able to book without having to punch in any card info, then you can just set this to 0 and that would remove the entire payment section from the checkout screen. But if you did want to collect some sort of deposit, then you can set whatever percentage of the total that you would want to collect up front. You can see that you can set a price ceiling on this, so deposits up to a certain amount. So if you do have very expensive services that you're offering, and maybe you don't want to take a crazy high deposit, you don't want to turn people off with that, then maybe you can limit it to be, maybe up to $200. You want to cap it at $200. On an online booking request if the total is greater than or equal to, in this case, $100. So this means that if the services that they are booking total up to be less than $100, then I don't want it to ask for a deposit. Anything under $100, don't ask for a deposit. Anything over $100, I would like to collect a deposit on. So that's essentially what this means. So that would then show up at the bottom of the checkout window over in the virtual shop. So I'll go ahead and select something here. And you'll see down at the bottom, it is calculating what 15% of this total would be, which is this amount here. And I have my default payment processor set to be Square, which is why Square is showing up down here. It would be the same kind of thing if you had Stripe selected, and then the customer would punch in their card details before they're able to submit this. And speaking of what I was just talking about, you can see the next preference down, preferred payment processor, either Stripe or Square. Keep in mind, this preference only shows up if you're connected to both Stripe and Square. So if you're only connected to one of them, you won't see this preference down here. But I obviously selected Square, which is why that was just showing up as a Square payment processing form. At the very bottom, you can see it says to customize your external calendar for online booking, go to Calendar External, which is going to be up here, but that's going to be covered in the next video in the series. If you guys have any questions on any of these virtual shop preferences, please reach out anytime.